Joining us now, perhaps to help me out with all of this, is BBC's former royal correspondent, royal reporter, Michael Cole. Good to see you, Michael. Thanks for your time. Why is it so cold? I was expecting something to be at least a little bit warmer.
Well, I hope you were warmer at the Dorchester. Guess what? I was once a director of the Dorchester Hotel.
Were you really?
I really was, before it was renovated and during those times. And do you know what? The other fact, the Duke of Edinburgh, obviously now dead, the late Duke of Edinburgh, he had his bachelor party there the night before he married the Queen in November 1947.
It's an amazing place.
Now listen, you've got... I'm glad you brought your overcoat with you to London.
Michael's also giving me hand warmers.
No. Because this is unseasonably cold weather. This is what the Cockneys would say. It's taters today. Taters is rhyming slang. Means taters in the mould, potatoes in the earth. So there's taters in the mould. It's cold with one of those lazy winds that goes through you rather than around you,
and then comes through the feet as well. Anyway, we've got to get to the royal stuff.
Absolutely,
we're only got a small window of time, Michael.
Okay,
but look, the King. He's getting busy now. I felt like it was a bit quieter at the start of the week, but now he's starting to get a roll on. We saw the rehearsal on today. He had a garden party this afternoon. It was lovely weather today too.
It was beautiful.
What do you make of how he's going this week?
Well, I think since the accession, when the Queen sadly died on the 8th of September, he hasn't put a foot wrong. He's very much his own man. As his sister, Princess Anne, said yesterday, with him, what you see, what you got. He's really enjoying it. And I think he's actually looking forward to it. He's had the longest apprenticeship in history. And bear in mind this, Pete, this is so rare. There have been more total solar eclipses in the last 200 years than there have been coronations. There's only been 7 of them. And I was here at the last one. I was 10 years old in 1953. There were golden arches over the Mall. That was before hamburger bars came here. There were grandstands all the way down the Mall. And the Queen's coronation that day was 3 times as long, the procession. This is going to be smaller, it's going to be slimmed down, 2 hours instead of 3, but it's got tremendous meaning. And your country and mine benefit by living under a constitutional monarchy. And that is the finest defence that we can ever have against extremism and dictatorship. And I think we should all celebrate that at this particular moment.
Yeah, it's amazing that you were there at Queen Elizabeth's
coronation. I was 10.
It was wet, right?
It rained all day long.
And it might be wet on Saturday.
And the big star of the show was a near neighbour of yours, Queen Salotte of Tonga. And she went round, everybody had their carriage hoods up, but she had hers down, and she sat there in the rain, and the British people loved her stoicism for doing it. And Noel Coward, the famous playwright, was watching this, and somebody said, "Who's that little man?" Because she was a big fat woman, you know. "Who's that little man in the carriage with Queen Salotte?" And he said, "I think it's her lunch."
I've got to ask you about Charles though, because obviously he's not as popular as his mother was. He probably gets this all the time. It irritates him, no doubt. But you can't match that kind of popularity.
No, of course not.
So she was 27 on her coronation.
Correct.
He's going to be 74. A lot of people are still coming around to Charles. Polls indicate what's the future of the monarchy going to be? We don't know. So how do you...
It's a different world. He's 74, as you just said. He's the oldest monarch ever crowned in Westminster Abbey, but there have been 40 in there. You know, it's not the same thing. Let me just tell you about 1953. That was the last trump of empire. I can't tell you how wonderful it was. There were all these sun-tanned Australians in their bush hats here, the Mounties in their red tunics, the Maoris were here. It was the end. This is something different. This is the 21st century. But there are good signs. The latest opinion polls show that his popularity is growing, and also the heir apparent, of course, Prince William and his wife Kate, their popularity ratings are 71 and 72. Well, there's not a... every politician in the Western world would die for popularity readings of that nature.
I just got to squeeze this one. Would you expect, because you've been to Australia more than a few times during your career,
and it's a wonderful country.
It is, like this one is, but would you expect it to break away?
Well, I think it's up to them. The King is there he reigns, but he doesn't rule.
Yeah.
Your parliament is sovereign. And it would be his duty and it would be his pleasure, if Australia ever wanted to become a republic, to see it on its way, because that would be the settled will of the Australian people. But let me just put this one thought to you, Pete, if I may. There are 43 monarchies in the world. There are 149 republics. The monarchies tend to be the happier lands. If you've got time for a little test, if I said to you, would you rather live in Morocco or Algeria? Would you rather live in Jordan or Syria? Would you rather live in Japan or China? Or would you rather live in Denmark or Lithuania? If you chose the first of all those, you'd have chosen a monarchy, because there is an underpinning of decency and kindness and mercy, I think, in a constitutional monarchy. It's a system, it's a strange system, but it works, and it's done very well for your country for more than 200 years. And I was there, by the way, when the Queen, for the 200th reenactment of the sailing of the First Fleet from Portsmouth, which was, I think, in 1988.
Okay.
It was 87, maybe.
Michael, we're out of time, but appreciate your time. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you for the hand
Not at all, not at all. Have a great day on
cutting to the bone
have a great
tonight,
day on Coronation Day. You've got this wonderful advert in Australia. Yeah, where you been? I was sort of going to say to all the Australians, where you been? You should be over here. It's a little bit cold, but we are stoic and we're going to get through
exactly.
it.
And if you're
we're
not
going to
here,
get through it.
Watch it on Sky.